As you have seen on this channel through our Making a Film Company series, we have an office space here in the heart of Oslo, Norway, with a studio, a meeting room, we even have a fish tank. What we did not tell you was that there was another mysterious room here.
Basically, we have been renting out this whole room for over a year. Today we got an email from the woman sitting here that she can no longer sit here. We're kind of happy about it, but also it's a little bit scary.
Yeah, that's a nice income every month. But this is the only room we have that is kind of isolated. So we can have this as editing space. This is a new era.
We needed a multi-purpose editing room where we could also show projects to the clients because our current somewhat crowded office space wasn't very professional for this matter. So in this video, I'll show you how we turned this dull room into a professional editing suite suitable for video editing, color grading, and audio work on a budget. This is going to be our new editing suite. Because of the virus, I am the only one here. At the moment, we can only be one here at a time, so I'm going to do most of the refurbishing here. Yeah, I'm going to paint the walls. So right now, I've been making the walls ready to paint. Okay, first a little disclaimer before you all go wild in the comment section. And by budget, I mean the room itself, like the sand panel, the painting and carpets and stuff, not the equipment that we put in there, because a lot of those are pretty expensive. I want to show you how you can affordably set up a room like this, and then you can put in your own equipment that fits your needs and budget after. Also, you might be wondering, where is Anders? Well, Anders is really busy right now editing a fantasy film that we just finished shooting. It's our biggest project yet, and it's gonna be really awesome. Oh.
Hei Morten, du,
Ja.
har du begynt å filme?
Ja.
Går det bra?
Ja, det gikk bra etter du kom, men...
Sorry, jeg bryter igjen. Bare husk å få det morsomt, få det lekent. Vise at vi har det gøy, ok?
Ja, men jeg eier ikke karisma.
Du må bare presse det frem. Det greier du, Morten. Lykke til!
Ja. Well, yeah. And also I'm the one who actually built this editing room, so I have a bit more first-hand experience on the topic. Okay, let's get started.
Well, the thing is, I also have some opinions about the editing room, but you're in charge, so you take it, okay?
Yeah.
Let me know if you need me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, tack. This was our starting point. A narrow room with a window in the end, painted partially green and white. And I wanted to start with the painting. Have you ever color corrected video in a dark environment and the next day seeing it in normal surroundings and the image looks way too dark? Well, that's why it's so important to have a properly lit and color editing room. Your eyes adapt to the color and lighting around you, and thus this will affect how you edit your images. If you're editing in a green room, your image will probably look a bit too green. This is why you want your editing room to be neutral. No colors, not too dark, not too bright. Actually, there's a professional paint you can buy that gives you the perfect result. It's often referred to as something like 18% gray, and it's basically the same color as an 18% gray card used to get correct exposures. The 18% refers to how much of the light that's reflected back, and it's calculated by the geometric mean, but don't get confused, it's basically the middle gray, right between black and white. This professional paint is pretty expensive though, and we aren't exactly making Hollywood movies in here.
Okay, 1 second, Morten. What about the fantasy film? Isn't that... Okay, never mind. Let's go.
So I went to the local paint shop and asked if they had something like a middle gray. They had neutral gray ranging from 10 to 90, from bright to dark, and I chose the 51. Also, this is probably the most boring color in the world, so I also purchased some 70, which was a little bit darker that I could put behind the person editing, just to make it a tiny bit more interesting without adding any color cast. There was also obvious that we had to do something about the floor. Fortunately, we had some leftover carpet tiles from our office that was very close to middle gray actually. You don't have to worry too much about your floor being the perfect gray, just make sure that it's not super colorful. Generally, carpets are a good idea because it is better for sound than hard surfaces. The thicker the carpet, the better it absorbs the sound. These carpet tiles we bought secondhand for like really cheap. The colors and light in the room shouldn't be affected by the time of the day, so we had to be able to block the light from the window. I sewed some pieces of Molton, you know, this black thick fabric, and used them as curtains, and then I cut some cheap board to make hatches. I painted it in the same middle gray color to make them a uniform wall in front of the editor. In addition to the carpets, we needed sound panels to make the sound perfect for professional audio work. We got some advices from our sound designer Marius and focused on putting sound panels around where the editor is sitting. In addition, I put some on the wall behind the editor to avoid the sound bouncing back. Unfortunately, there were already sound panels in the ceiling from the previous owner. The sound panels we got really cheap secondhand as well. I think we paid about $100 for all of them, and we still had a lot to spare after filling up this room. And to make them blend in, I went to the local fabric store and tried to find some fabric that matched the neutral gray color on the wall, as well as the darker color for the panels used on the back walls. I just used some glue and needles to stick the fabric to the panels, and by leaving a small gap between the wall and the panels absorbs even more sound. And for even better sound, we added a thick furry IKEA carpet on the floor on top of the carpet tiles. We're also gonna add bass straps in the corners in front of the editor, and I ordered some from AliExpress and I had a choice between spending 60 cents on China mail shipping or $1,500 shipping with DHL. I chose the China mail with 60 cents, but the bass straps never arrived, and we might get some bass straps from another place later if our sound designer feels the need to. Then of course we need a desk. And I think for such a room, it's important to have a big desk, as we knew we were gonna have 2 monitors, an audio interface, etc. So we had one desk left over that would just fit in the room, coincidentally perfect, with a small gap on the side to pass through to open the windows or to adjust the speakers and so forth. And I painted the desk with the same color as the walls as well. And of course the editor needs a place to sit, so we used this IKEA chair, which we already had in the office, bought secondhand earlier. We also put in a comfy chair so that the clients or colleagues could sit and watch the TV. Then it was time to do something with the lighting, which can be very easy to underestimate the importance of. And as with the colors of your walls, the temperature of your light can affect your eyes. And therefore it is important to have lights with the same temperature as your monitor, which is usually about 6500 Kelvin. This is significantly colder than your average light bulb like these, which are usually around 3000 Kelvin. So you need to find colder light bulbs. And as with the gray painting, you have expensive professional solutions which are meant for color grading suites like this, but we wanted to have a bit more of a versatile solution. Considering that I guess about like only 10% of the time in the editing suite it's gonna be actually color grading work. So I don't think it's too pleasant to sit in this cold light day in and day out when we're not doing color work. So I landed on using Philips Hue bulb, which go down to about 6500K at their coldest. And of course, these do not have the highest CRI values, so basically meaning the quality of the light, but I find them to be very consistent and it's more than good enough for our work. And the ability to change the color is fantastic, whether you want to go from warm to cold, or if you want to do your own brothel. One last thing that I want to mention about light is the so-called bias lighting. So this means basically to light up the area behind your screen to prevent your eyes from getting tired and for you to perceive contrast correctly. Usually this is done by having an LED strip on the back of your monitor like we have here on our Ambilight TV. And this works well when you have your monitor close to the wall, but because of our audio setup, we can't do that. So if I want to have some sort of bias lighting, I just turn the table light around and shine it on the wall. It's not an optimal solution, but it works okay. So that was the basic room, but I want to talk a little bit about what kind of equipment we have here, because I know you're probably interested in that too. So let's start talking about the monitors, which are obviously quite important when doing this kind of work. So the main monitor is a Benq SW271. And I've been using this for a while and it's really nice. It's 4K, which I think is really important when you have a monitor this size, 27 inches. In addition, on the side we have a smaller 19-inch Atomos Sumo. I wouldn't really recommend buying this in order to have it as a second monitor, but we have it and we use it sometimes while filming on locations for a director monitor, so I figured it could just as well be standing there as a second monitor when we're not using it. It's perfect to have like your media browser and stuff on that. And then it's the most important screen, the TV. We needed a big TV so that clients and colleagues could see the work without having to hang over the shoulder of the editor. And also to be able to open the windows, I had to be a bit creative on how I was going to get the TV in a good position for everybody to see it. So I ended up getting a ceiling mount. I used a stud detector to be sure that I found a safe place to attach it.
Oj!
Nice. Huh?
Kul det!
Give me a hug.
And as for the TV itself, we went with an LG 55-inch C9. And this is an OLED panel that is one of the best ones for color grading compared to other TVs, at least at this price point. I found a deal of just over $1,000, which is really good for an OLED this size. It's of course crucial to calibrate your monitors when you're doing critical color work, so we have an X-Rite i1 Display Pro, which we use for this. As our sound designer was going to use this room for doing sound on our project, we needed a good audio setup. Modern motherboards do have pretty good audio built in, but if you're doing higher-end audio work, you'll need an external audio interface. It's also really nice to have these physical knobs and buttons for changing volume and muting audio. We got the Audient ID22, which we connected two Yamaha HS80M speakers on each side for stereo and one HS8 in the middle, and a JBL LSR 310S subwoofer below the desk in a 3-1 sound system. We were fortunate enough that our sound designer Marius had these speakers laying around and that we could borrow them. The speakers are also the reason why the desk is pulled so far back. For the best sound possible, the speakers should be pulled a bit back from the walls. This setup also affected the monitor arm we used. And if the monitors you are using is blocking the speakers, you are not getting the best audio possible. So it was important that we had a flexible arm so that we could put the monitor low. And generally, monitor arms are a must when you're setting up desks, as it frees up a lot of space. We invested in a really good arm and it cost about $150. The arm is from a Nordic brand called Kenson, and I don't think it's easy to find internationally, but don't worry, there are tons of good monitor arm options on places like Amazon. The last thing is of course the computer. As some of you might know, I'm actually a time-lapse photographer and I work almost exclusively in 8K resolution, which I've been doing for like the last 5 years. And this requires a pretty beefy computer. This PC gets upgraded quite frequently, but as it stands today, it is running a fantastic AMD Threadripper 3970X 32-core CPU with 128 gigs of 3200 MHz RAM, 10 TB of super fast NVMe SSD storage, and the NVIDIA RTX 2080 Ti, which will be upgraded to the NVIDIA 3090 as soon as it is in stock here in Norway, which it looks like might take a while. So this is a fantastic all-around machine that can do it all. One thing that I hate about computers standing under the desk is to crawl down to plug in a hard drive or an SD card. So I got this little neat hub right here connected to the computer for faster access. It's an in-desk USB hub with a couple of USB-A ports, USB-C, as well as both micro SD and SD card slots, and audio jack outputs and inputs that we don't use because we have the audio interface. I just drilled a hole with the right diameter in the desk and put it in. And this should be pretty easy to find on Amazon. Just make sure that it's at least USB 3.0 so that you get some decent speeds when transferring. I should also mention that the computer is connected to our NAS system with a 10 gigabit cable so that we can edit off the server if we need to do that. So that's our editing room. What do you think? I'm really satisfied with how versatile it turned out without making too many compromises.
We could finally have an editing suite where we could sit inside and just edit without having anyone to disturb us. And I've always been editing on my PC next to others. And having a place for your own, where you can also show the client your films and just turn off the volume, there's something about that. Okay, thank you Morten for making this video. If you want to see more of Morten's time-lapse work, you can go to his channel, Morten Rustad. And if you want to see how Morten and I met, check out the Making a Film Company series. I'll probably add a link somewhere here. Okay, I'm gonna now finish up the fantasy film. It's coming soon with the behind the scenes, so stay tuned.